What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the playbook because today we are going over the 2026 NFL draft, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. I am Lailend Duncan, joined by,
Brody Carter.
and we have a lot to get into. Where even to start? I feel let's start off with our full draft results. We had an amazing night one, a great night two, and a great night three. So, what did you expect going into the night, and what do you think? What are you left with after that?
I knew that there was going to be a shocker somewhere in that draft, and I didn't know where, if it was going to be, super early or super late. And we got that 13 picks into the draft with Ty Simpson. I don't think anyone was expecting that. I thought that he was going to go to the Rams or like a contending team, but not
Right.
right away at picks 13.
Yeah, I mean, Ty Simpson, I think I would have to agree with you, was the shock of the draft. I mean, I don't think anybody saw that coming. He's a talented a guy that like you said, we expected to be drafted. That's not a shocker. And I wasn't even shocked to see him go in the first round, although I did not see that happening personally. But I wouldn't say I was shocked. Now, I didn't see him going at 15. That was a little bit shocking. So let's go with the best picks by round. Let's start with round one and we can work our way up. What do you feel like the best pick of round one was?
This is tough because you have a lot of like really good players in each draft. I feel like I'm gonna kind of go on a limb here, but I do. I mean, obviously Fernando Mendoza. That's like a team's getting their franchise quarterback. But if we really have to look at the whole round, I think Kenyon Sadiq going to the Jets is
Mm,
probably the best pick in my opinion. I I like what the Jets are doing. They went out and they got Omar Cooper Jr., they got Kenyon Sadiq, they got all these guys to build around, their future quarterback. I mean, they even went out and they got Klubnik from Clemson, which I
right.
really like Klubnik. Uh, but yeah, I think they went out and they had a really great draft.
I would have to agree with you. I think the Jets had a really good draft, although my favorite pick of the night, I think, is Dylan Thieneman to the Bears. I think the Bears had a sneaky, really good draft, and I mean that like truthfully, because you had a team that was good last year, made the divisional round, even took the Rams to their limit. We saw that awesome throw by Caleb Williams that almost won them the game. Um, and so, what a great team that was! But then they lose a lot in free agency. And the biggest loss to me was the veteran presence of Kevin Byard. I think Kevin Byard's one of the best safeties in football and has been for a long time. And so you lose him, then you replace him with a even better young playmaker in Dylan Thieneman. That has to be one of my favorite picks of the night. But I would say the best pick of night one would undoubtedly have to be Arvell Reese to the Giants. I think that's the best linebacking slash edge rusher slash kind of front seven, or excuse me, yeah, front seven member of this draft. Personally, so pretty much the best defender not named Caleb Downs. I feel like that's the best defender, and they got him to add to an already stacked defense. The Giants are in business, ladies and gentlemen. So if that's our best picks, I feel like I don't even know if we really have to really go into this, but let's go back to our biggest surprise. Let's go back into that Ty Simpson pick.
Yeah, that one. I mean, if you follow us on social media, you would have seen our live reaction. We were like, "What the heck were the Rams doing?" Because they easily, the Cardinals started off the second round, and you never know, and they needed quarterback like really bad, but they could have traded back and got him later in the first, or they could have been like, "Hey, let's." I mean, you don't really see that hey, we saw the Cowboys trade with the Eagles. You don't really see interdivision trades like that, but you could have traded back into the second, even got more picks. But I mean, I personally really like the Ty Simpson pick, but not where it was at.
Yeah.
Like, pick wise, I like all of it though.
Yeah, I think we are two peas in a pod in that aspect because I like the Ty Simpson pick too. You got a team building for their future. Nothing is wrong with that at all, in my opinion. But I do think that that pick at 50, when you have the ability to add playmakers and you don't for a future position, to me, you're discounting the team you have. Because think about how good the Rams really are. Stafford, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, Puka Nakua, Devontae Adams. You could have added another receiver there. You could have added I know Sadiq went a little bit earlier, I believe. You could have added a tight end though. This is a team with a lot of talent. You could have added a cornerstone lineman. You know what I'm saying? Or you could have went defense, and that's where I would have went personally. I thought Ruben Bain was for sure that was where he was going, especially a team that has a habit of developing great linemen. I thought that's where he was going, and they didn't do that. They said we're going to get ready for our future and have a guy watch and Ty Simpson, and I think he has the potential really to be the future of that franchise because you think about the Rams, they're getting ready to gear up for another deep playoff run, hopefully a Super Bowl for them. And if they do get, like that would be the best experience of all. Like Ty Simpson's going to start his career as a Super Bowl champion potentially. Like that to me is the best thing you could have. Back to our best picks though. What would you say is the best pick of night 2?
Um, that's didn't really watch night 2 because I was at work, and also Denver didn't pick until I believe it was the third round. But I really, unfortunately, as a Broncos fan saying this, I really like the Chiefs going out and getting our Mason Thomas.
What a
That
stud.
guy, he's really. I mean, even a pick later, the Bengals went out and got Cassius Howell.
Mm.
You know, there were so many good guys that went in the second round. Jacob Rodriguez to the Miami Dolphins. That's who I wanted Denver to get if they were to trade up and get someone. Another guy like Josiah Trotter from Missouri. So it was really kind of all these, these defensive guys that really went in the second. But I would say my favorite pick I'm gonna go like second round and then I'll go third round. Uh, is Eli Stowers from
Mm.
Vanderbilt going to the Eagles. I I had originally until he exploded in the combine. I had Kenyon Sadiq going there. I had him falling all the way down. But yeah, I mean, I also kind of like the Carson Beck pick too. I'm that kind of person. I think Beck is a good quarterback, and I think he fits that system well in Arizona.
Absolutely. With night 2, the funny thing about the Eli Stowers the funny thing about the Eli Stowers pick was I was on the phone with a friend when that happened. We obviously avid Eagles haters. We lost the Eagles in the Super Bowl. KC did in dramatic fashion a couple years ago. So we were on the phone, and that was right after, or I believe it was right before they traded for Jonathan Grenard. But they make this selection on Eli Stowers, and I was pissed, especially as a team that what does post Travis Kelsey life look like? I really was all for Stowers if he fell drafting Stowers in the second round, all for it. And that didn't happen because he got drafted by the Eagles, and then they go out and trade for Jonathan Grenard. What a draft the Eagles had, and we'll get into who we think won the draft later. But for me, my favorite second round pick, I like the Vikings pick in Jack Golday. I think that was a really nice pick for them for a team that needed youth at the linebacker position. They've been known for having these old heads at linebacker. They need some youth in there, like a shot of adrenaline. I really liked that pick a lot. But I think my favorite pick of the second round would be Anthony Hill to the Titans. I think Anthony Hill's a total stud. I truly do. And then you're gonna get a guy who's gonna come in and make impact plays immediately for a team, for a defense that could use some youth. And I think pair him with Cody Barton, who had an underrated season last year for Tennessee. Like what a season he had last year, and then went like flew under the radar. I think that defense is going to be legit, and obviously it's being headed by Robert Saleh. So I really like that pick for them. I think that was a really good pick. What do you think about night 3?
Um.
Or sorry, the third round. Excuse me.
The third round. Yes. So I already talked about
You talked
Carson
about
Beck,
Beck.
but I was scrolling through. How could you forget about Drew Aller? Like me personally, if I was looking at a team and I'm like, Fernando is. I personally think that behind Fernando and Ty Simpson, it's Drew Aller. I really like Drew Aller as a player. He's 6'5", 228 for a
Mm.
quarterback. He's really good. I think he was one of my favorites, and then also, I mean, I really like what the Steelers did in this draft, and they even went out and they got Jennings Dunker from Iowa, who you guys are gonna love that pick, but I don't know from the third round. I will actually say I like the Zachariah Branch pick to the Falcons.
Yeah.
That is gonna. I thought he possibly could have gone first round, but he didn't. But he's kind of a short. He's a shorter wide receiver. He's 5'8", 177. So he's not like a big dude. But I feel like the Falcons really, really needed a guy that they could just put in the slot because they lost Darnell Mooney. So I think, and Drake London's not that guy that's going to go out and be your slot guy. He's kind of more. I'd kind of say he's more of a kind of like a Rashee Rice. You can kind of use him like however you want, but he's not going to be just a slot guy. I think that is really good for the Falcons.
Absolutely. I agree. That was one of I like Zachariah Branch pick. I could talk about Zachariah Branch all day. He played at USC for a little bit, obviously. Total stud. I think he's going to be, even if he doesn't get instant reps at receiver, which I do think he will. Elite return man. Especially for a team. Talk about the losses. They lost Ray McLeod a couple years ago. So like I feel like they haven't had some juice, and he will instantly do that. Another USC guy in the third round that I really do like a lot is Jacoby Lane. I could talk about this guy all day. This man, jump ball receiver through and through. He can make any catch on the field over anybody. He just has that type of confidence. And I really love that pick going to the Ravens. And I know they got Surratt in the next round too. So like I really love that pick though from the Ravens, going to get a jump ball receiver for a guy like Lamar and a team that's kind of have the same archetype, right? Like Zay Flowers, slot guy, good after the catch. Rashad Bateman, slot guy, good after the catch. So Dad D Hop, but didn't use him much. So I feel like a young guy like Jacoby Lane to go up there and catch jump balls all day. Really nice pick. I also like Chris Brazzell to the Panthers. Just adding, that kind of building on that archetype of tall guys who can make jump ball catches. Pairing that with Teratosha McMillan, the offensive rookie of the year. I feel like you've got a lot of good receiver talent went in this round. Like we talked about Zachariah Branch. Now we're talking about Jacoby Lane, like just studs left and right. So talk about the fourth round a little bit for a second.
As a Broncos fan, I've kind of really haven't understood not really the hate, but like people are, I've seen drafts all over the place where they're like, "Oh, Broncos C minus," and it's whatever. But one thing I really, really love is the I'm blanking on his name. Jonah Coleman. I really
Yeah,
like the Jonah Coleman pick. He's a physical downhill runner. He kind of reminds me like J.K. Dobbins. And if you remember, J.K. Dobbins got hurt this year for the Broncos, and R.J. Harvey wasn't that guy that was a 3 down back, or he was like we. He's really that Alvin Kamara player for Sean Payton, but there's I don't know if you saw it, but during the pre-draft process, during the combine, and like a lot of, I mean, even during the draft, he put Sonny Styles on his ass. There was a play where he just puts him, and he's really good at blocking. Like the Broncos right now, they have Tyler Bidet, who is their guy that they just put out on blocks just to block for Bo Nix. I really like that pick.
absolutely. I'd have to agree with you. I think a great pick. But for the fourth round, and I think this is a no-brainer in terms of best pick. It's got to be Jermod McCoy going to the Raiders. I feel like this is a guy who fell down the draft, obviously due to injuries, and that's kind of you can't control that really. But this dude is a star. This dude is a lockdown corner, and if his knee holds up, if he stays healthy, getting him in the fourth round is insane value. Insane value. And you're adding that to a defense who got a lot of influx of talent in free agency, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, et cetera. The list goes on. Added Linderbaum to that offensive line. So I think that was a awesome pick to start the fourth round. I also like Jaden Kennedy for the Chiefs. Obviously, this is a team that needed DB going into the draft. This is a team that lost a lot of DB talent in free agency. And so we needed a DB, and we're getting a stud from Oregon who made plays all over the field, and most notably that play against Mekhi Lemon and USC. Obviously, that haunted me during the college football season, but hopefully he's making plays like that against Bo Nix this season, and Jalen Waddle. I really do like the Cade Klubnik pick as well that you touched on earlier. I think Cade Klubnik is a really good quarterback, and I think he was he had a bad year his last year of college. It wasn't like terrible in terms of statistics, but they were supposed to be top team in the nation, and they weren't even ranked I believe at the end of the season because they had that rough patch.
Yeah, I don't think they were either. Yeah.
And they lost probably very winnable ACC. I know Miami was there, and obviously how great Miami was down the stretch, but ACC was winnable, and Miami didn't even win the ACC either. So that should tell you a lot about these two teams. But as we go into round 5, my favorite pick, this is easy again. As another USC guy goes off the board, Kamari Ramsey, stud. I could talk about this guy all day. Flies all up and down the field, and then you're adding him to a Texans defense that is already stout, already loaded with talent all over the place. And I can't believe that he fell to them. A lot of Texans got a lot of really good talent this draft, but that one really hurt me because again, Kamari Ramsey was a guy I would have wanted over for in KC. A lot of teams would have wanted him, but the Texans, who don't need him, get him and add him to a great secondary. I feel like that's ridiculous. But touch on the fourth round for a little bit.
All right. On the fourth round
Yeah.
or fifth round?
Did I say fourth? I meant fifth.
Okay. I really, really wanted this man. And when I saw we got Jonah Coleman, I was like, okay, there's a better guy out there. And that was Emmett Johnson. And it pains me that he went to Kansas City, but being in a house divided where, I have one parent who's a Husker fan and one parent who's a Hawkeye fan, we watch a lot of Husker games. And even during the Iowa game, this dude, once he finds that gap, he's gone. And I feel like there's kind of a lot of questions like, oh, why why did they get Emmett Johnson when they got Kenneth Walker? You're not going to have Kenneth Walker for that long. And Kansas City doesn't really, use that ground game. They haven't had like a main guy since I think like Kareem's Hunt like rookie year. That was like the last time I remember them having like a decent, when they would hand the ball off so much. But Emmett Johnson, I that's my favorite pick out of the 5th round.
Yeah, I mean, I totally forgot about the Emma Johnson pick, but so glad you brought that up because obviously as a Chiefs fan, not a Nebraska fan, a big Nebraska fan, even though I live here, but as a big Chiefs fan, I was so happy that we got Emmett Johnson. I hope and I'm praying, Veach, if you hear me, player personnel, if you guys hear me, give this man Rashad Smith's reps. Give this man. I want my backfield to be Kenneth Walker and Emmett Johnson all year. Like I think that's going to be a problem. He's so electric. You got two explosive and athletic backs that can make plays all up and down the field. I love that pick, especially from Emmett Johnson. Adding him to this offense, I think is going to be such a great influx of talent. Super duper, like what a stud. You talked about in the state of Nebraska, nobody really wanted him to go to KC. Obviously, nobody wanted to because you're rooting for a guy that now is playing for a team you probably don't like. But Emma Johnson, I think, is going to be a stud. I don't think there's any doubting that. Like, I just think he's got that. Like should have been won the Heisman this year, um, or at least should have been in the running. Didn't really get enough recognition. Stud, stud, stud. Any 6th round steals that you like though?
Um, in the 6th round, it's right at the end of the 6th round, Falcons picking up Harold Perkins. And
Yep.
before this guy tore his ACL in 2022 and 2023, dog. He was mocked like a couple of years ago to go, top 5, top 10, like in almost every mock draft. And the Falcons did pick up Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. last year. So they're getting young on that defensive line for the linebackers. But I think, because they have Divine Diablo and Christian Harris, that's a good guy to go out and already add. You're already young. You got a young guy last year. You're going to add another guy this year. I think that's easily the steal.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I thought Caden Curry also. I think just the pick before, or maybe the pick after by the Colts. I really like that
pick before, yeah.
Stud at Ohio State. I mean, we can talk about Ohio State talent all day. They're just a super uber talented team, but I really like that pick. I thought Caden Curry has potential to be a really productive player coming out of the 6th round. So, and I think like we can talk about player evolution, but I just feel like as we get into these newer age of players, a lot of down the draft talent is really where you find studs, really where you find game changers, and I think like these two casts that we talked about really have potential. And I'm going to kick off the 7th round because the Eagles got Yuri Bernard, and a lot of people not going to know who that is. If you pay attention to the draft process before, you know who that is. This is a absolute specimen of a man. This dude is one of the biggest humans I have ever seen, and he's just as agile as anybody, any decently sized linebacker. Even you could compare it to a running back. This dude is crazy athletic, and the Eagles got him in the 7th round, and I think this guy has the chance to be one of the best players in the NFL. If he can reach his potential, I think this guy is going to be a stud. Like I mean, like I'm gonna if I can find this picture here, I'm going to script like this dude is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I did find one.
He's 6'4", 308, and ran a 4.63 200-meter dash or 40-yard dash, which is insane.
Absolutely. As look at this man. I mean, like, I want you guys to look at this. Look at this human being. This is a mammoth of an individual. He is a stud, and I think this guy is going to be a freaking monster if his potential reaches. I am more than excited to see how that goes, and I could not be less excited that the Eagles are going to be the team that can unlock this man's potential. But in a way, I'm glad it was the Eagles because I feel like if anybody could unlock his potential, it's them. With how much
Yeah.
with Vic Fangio and that team, Vic Fangio coached the Broncos not too long ago, and really wasn't the issue there. So I think that this dude is going to be a stud. And obviously, the only other pick I would touch on, and I'll pass it over to you, would be Garrett Nussmeier going to KC. That we're getting some youth in the QB room. We've been dealing with a lot of old heads of recent. Carson Wentz, Blaine Gabbert. Although Duncan was kind of young, but not very young. Chad Henne a couple of years ago. Like just a lot of old heads running around the quarterback room for KC. And then the only other ones were like fringe practice squad players, and I do believe that with Nussmeier getting added, that Duncan will end up back on the practice squad, and Justin Fields. Obviously, we traded for him, so QB room's younger. Justin Fields is a guy that I think is going to absolutely benefit from playing behind Mahomes, and I hope this could potentially be a second career resurgence for him. Not obviously not in KC. And then Nussmeier, I think just adding him to the QB room is a good idea. I really do like the guy. So overall, I really like that pick. If there's anybody you want to touch on, we can end the 7th round segment.
Yeah. There are two guys in the 7th round that I really like. First one being Deion Burks from Oklahoma.
Mm.
I really like that pick. I think he was kind of held back by, quarterback play in college, and he's only 5'9", 180. So he struggles to win on like vertical routes, but he does create windows by, underneath by breaking off like short routes and stuff like that. Uh that that's all on Dion. And I think him going to Indianapolis is good cuz Daniel Jones, he's coming back, right?
Yeah, he is. He should. I
Okay.
don't know if he'll be back this year. And if it would probably be towards he did tear his Achilles, so like that
That
always
is
is.
true. Yeah.
Um, but we saw Aaron Rodgers come back the year he did. So I wouldn't put past him to come back this year, but I would assume that they're going to start the year with Riley Leonard if Richardson doesn't stay.
Uh I do, however, like the Mr. Irrelevant pick with Red Murdoch from Buffalo. This dude is nasty. He is oh I was sitting on my couch when this happened, and I'm like, who the heck did we just draft? I'm like, I've never even heard of this guy. And funnily enough, he went to Buffalo, and his real name is Khalil. So he's like Khalil Mack, basically. Like, I mean, I really like that. But in his 3 seasons, this is from the Jeff Legwood. He posted this on on ESPN after this. In 3 seasons as a starter at Buffalo, Murdoch had 60, 156, and 142 tackles. And he finished his career with over 39 and a half tackles for loss. And I think he had like 17 forced fumbles. Yeah, I mean, it'd be insane if it was in 1 year, but I'm pretty sure it was, between all 3 years. But I really like that pick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's a really good Mr. Relevant pick. Obviously, I don't think anything will top Brock Purdy a couple years ago. That's just going to go down in history as probably the best Mr. Relevant pick. We're talking about a guy who's now on his second contract for the 49ers and perennial playoff team. But absolutely, what a pick! I would have to agree with you. I hate to see the Broncos get better, even that far down the draft. But I would have to agree with you unbiasedly. That's a really good pick, which I feel like will lead us to who is your 2026 NFL draft winner?
The New York Jets. What they did, I really, really like. I mean, both New Jersey teams did really good, the Jets and the Giants. But the Jets, with their 3 first-round picks, they absolutely just reshaped their whole entire roster, and I really like that. And it's they got. I really like D'Angelo Pons. That was a really good one too. I think he was really good at Indiana. Uh, but yeah, I think because they have Geno Smith this year. They also, they drafted Cade Klubnik too, which you never know. They could, start him. But I think with a veteran guy like Geno Smith, you just kind of go out, let Geno develop all these new guys. Then next year you go and you get, Dante Moore or Arch Manning or even like, is Lenore Sellers coming out this year? I don't know, but whichever quarterback comes out next year, I think whoever goes there is going to love the development that they had over the season.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Klubnik likely will get playing time this year. I don't see the Jets being that good. I don't believe in Geno Smith. I
I
hate
don't
to
either.
say things. Love Geno Smith. Don't get it wrong. I
Yeah.
think his story is really awesome. But I don't see him being the long-term starter in New York. So I do see Klubnik getting some time. But I do think it's likely that they are at the bottom of the league again next year and will be in the sweepstakes for Arch, Dante Moore, Jaden Mayaba from USC, who I think is going to be a stud. And we'll get into that next year when we're talking about the draft. But total great situation, I think, for the Jets. Because like you said, I do think that next year will definitely be their cash in time. But this year was a really good set of draft. And great draft. But my winner undoubtedly is the Philadelphia Eagles. This team, I think, had one of the best drafts in recent memory, going out drafting Mekhi Lemon, going out drafting Eli Stowers. We talked about Uri Bernard in the late rounds. They drafted a tackle in the 6th round who's like 318, like just massive guy to pair with Jordan. Why? I think they had one of the best drafts in recent memory. And then they traded for Jonathan Grenard. What is Minnesota doing? What are we doing? I mean, trading and for a 2nd-round pick, like I can't even like react to how wild of a freaking draft the Eagles had, and I was more than happy to see that happen. Sorry, not happy. I was more than happy to see a team go out and have a great draft. Personally, I hate to see the Eagles succeed, but they had such a good draft, man. I think that has to be my winner, just undoubtedly. And so now we talked about like who our winner is. Who do you think out of all of our rounds, who's our biggest steal of the draft?
Ooh,
I feel like
that's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 275 play. That's 1 out of 275 players. Oh, that is tough.
I'm just gonna keep it with Euro Bernard.
Yeah.
I think that's the steal. I think this guy if we're just gonna go off raw upside, this is a guy who had a chance to go from like 3rd, 4th round to like fall back because I guess we don't really have that consistency from the guy yet. But yeah, man, like, dude, I could not say less, bro. Like that. I think that's my steal. But go on if you have.
I do kind of think LT Overton, the defensive lineman to the Dallas Cowboys. I really like that pick for them. But I don't know the steal of the whole draft. I honestly, I might go with Jacob Rodriguez for the Miami Dolphins. I mean, you really needed tackle, which they got it in the first round. They needed wide receiver, which they did it in later rounds. But I do like what Jacob Rodriguez brings to. No matter where he would go, he's going to be a starter anywhere, no matter where he goes.
Yeah, I was on the phone with my grandma when they made that pick, and we were talking about something. I just burst out loud, "No!" I wanted Jacob Rodriguez in a Kansas City uniform. Obviously, I'm sure every team wanted this guy. He's a stud. Obviously, we touched on this. This is a guy who going to start anywhere. Was in the Heisman voting last year at Texas Tech. Total stud. I think that that was a great pick for the Dolphins. Again, a team that really is rebuilding. So I would have to agree with you on that. And I actually think I might change my pick with you. I might go with Jacob Rodriguez because I felt like this is a guy who has first round talent. Not going to go in the first round, but he has first round talent, and likely maybe not talent, but I want to say like this is a guy who's going to come in and immediately make an impact for your team, right? And you don't really get that much. And while like I don't think he's as like his upside is as big as like Reese or some of those guys, I do feel like that was a really good selection. So yeah, I think I might switch my pick to just agree with you on that. Now I want to talk about best AFC versus NFC draft class.
Ooh.
I feel like my NFC team, I said it, is gonna. I feel draft class. I don't know if I'd go with Philly. I think they had the best draft in the NFC, but draft class, I feel like that's a little more up in the air as I take a look at these draft boards. I think AFC. I might go with you on the Jets. I think they had a really good draft in the coming out of the AFC side of things. But in terms of NFC, I feel like that's a little more up for grabs. Do you have any thoughts?
I really like either the Dallas Cowboys or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, Dallas, they got Caleb Downs.
Probably the best draft.
Yeah. And then Tampa Bay, they go out and get Ruben Bain. How does he fall all the way to freaking Tampa Bay? But yeah, it's either between the Bucks or the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Dallas. I think Ruben Bain is gonna be an immediate impactor for Tampa Bay, and I think that was a really good pick because I think a big reason Ruben Bain fell is because teams are running out of I guess I want to say it was kind of a team that desperately needed him. You know what I'm trying to say? Because of I think his upside is ridiculous. Like I'm gonna be honest. Like guy has potential to be a game wrecker for years to come. Like seriously. But I think the short arms is a concern. It just is, right? And that's kind of not nothing he can control. And no team so far has been able, like in college at least, has been able to take advantage of his short arms. But I think that was probably a really good selection. I'd have to agree with you on that. Ruben Bain is just a total stud. So, what team do you think is under the most pressure?
I mean, I always kind of think it's like the winners of the draft because it's like, you had the most players go out. I mean, I kind of think it's the New York Jets. Honestly, I don't think they're going to be that good this year. Like this year, I don't think anyone here is going to be that good, but the team most under pressure with their draft picks, like if we're saying like most under pressure after the draft is the New York Jets, just to see, hey, are these guys going to pan out for you?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the Jets, because I feel like why I wouldn't say they're the team most under pressure is because they didn't draft quarterback. I think if they drafted quarterback, a quarterback that they plan to be the quarterback of the future, I think Klubnik's going to be there for a while, but I think mostly as a backup. So I think that I would agree with you if that was the case, but because they didn't, I'm going to push back on that a little bit. My team, I feel like, is most under pressure after the draft. I think I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals, and this is why I'm going to say that because they decided to go Jeremiah Love first in the first
Yes,
round.
I totally forgot about that.
Right, and then you follow that up with Carson Beck. I feel like Carson Beck should be like, if we're gonna be honest, I think he should be the starter. At this point, you know what you're getting with Jacoby Brissett. It's just on it. Like honestly, that's just kind of what it is. So I think that's and Jeremiah Love. If you guys don't get a quarterback soon, then you're wasting this guy's career. We saw it with Saquon Barkley. We saw it. Like we've seen it all throughout the history of this league. Teams drafting running back way too early before they can handle one, and careers get wasted. So I feel like that's really the team most under pressure because Jeremiah Love's going to be a stud. Period. And I don't want to see his career get wasted personally. So that I feel like that would be my team most under pressure. What you talked about the Jets being a rebuilding team that nailed it, and I think we just have to agree with I'd have to agree with you on that. But what contender do you feel made the most improvements? And I think this answer is clear, but I don't know if you're gonna want to say it.
Um, I will say, I mean, they didn't make the playoffs this year, but every single year you can't count out the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm saying that because their offense is good. But when they brought in Matt Eberflus this year to be their defensive coordinator, they brought in Christian Bernard, I'm pretty sure is his name, from the Eagles. So I really like that defensive coordinator pick. I think that if they are a, you know, if they can lock in on defense, then they should be fine. But
Yeah,
I also do kind of think, I mean, Kansas City, they went out and they got Mansur Delane. I think they also got Peter Woods too. They got R. Mason Thomas. So that defense, they don't got to worry about that. And they went out and they got Emmett Johnson and they got a wide receiver too.
yeah. My pick, obviously, unbiasedly, is going to be KC. I feel like in terms of I feel like a lot of contenders truly improved. I think Philly improved. I think Denver improved. I think Buffalo improved. Like I do think a lot of contenders improved, but KC was the one contender last year that we saw take the biggest drop off, and so it was almost vital. It was almost imperative that they show up. You know what I'm trying to say in the
Yeah.
draft in the off season, and so I feel like they did that. I feel like they did. I loved the draft we had. I really would have liked Jacoby Lane or Denzel Boston. Personally, were the two receivers I wanted, but we didn't get either of them. But I like Cyrus Allen. He's a young guy, very quick. He's going to be a immediate boost to the receiver room. And I think it really was a great draft. Emmett Johnson. Pair that with three defensive monsters. Mansour Delane, one of the best college corners like of all time in terms of like the season he just had. Then you pair that with Armason Thomas, whose job is going to be wreck things. He's going to wreck everything. He's a wrecking ball. Then you have Peter Woods, who I think has, out of all the D tackles in this draft, has the biggest upside. Like I think this guy has potential to be a monster. And then you pair that with Chris Jones.
That's what I was just going to say that. I'm like, he's getting old. So he's probably going to retire. I mean, 5 years is probably stretching it, but he's probably going to retire soon. And it's like, you're going to want that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I go into the league, like as a defensive lineman, like if I land in Kansas City, I'm like, I've got a good guy with, Chris Jones.
Yep, absolutely. I think Chris Jones, I would personally love to see him get that sack record, KC sack record, before he retires. It's a little bit out of reach right now. I think he'd have to have some really good seasons upcoming to get that, but I would like to see him do that before he retires. Obviously, but George Karlaftis, I think he's on contract for a while. He's going to be there. Really imperative that he has a good season next year because we did just sign him to an extension, and it was not a cheap one. So love to see him go back to his rookie form. He hasn't really been that guy since his rookie year where he had 10 sacks. You know what I'm saying? And so I would like to see that. And I think when you pair him with Peter Woods and R. Mason Thomas, that's going to do that because George Karlaftis can win one-on-ones. And so that's what I really like to do. Now I want to talk about players. I want to talk about let's talk about some offensive and defensive rookie of the year candidates. We'll get into our winners later, but I want to talk about our candidates right now.
That's really tough. I'm gonna say for you said offensive rookie of the year.
Or you can do
Okay.
OR. Yeah.
Okay. So I'd say for O'Roy, you have Carnell Tate. If everything goes well in Arizona, Jeremiah Love, number 2. And then number 3, I'm gonna go with Jordan Tyson. I think Jordan Tyson was kind of a underrated draft pick going to the Saints because you look at him and they're like, oh, they already have Olave. I think them adding, Tyson, and I believe in Chuck. That's me. I believe in Chuck. I think he's really good. I think he's a really good quarterback, but I think he's going to be those 3 for offensive rookie of the year. Now, defensive rookie of the year, I mean, David Bailey, obviously. We're going to go Caleb Downs, and then I really like the Kendrick Falk from Auburn going to the Tennessee Titans. I mean, you're there with Robert Saleh, a defensive minded guy. I think those are my 3 for the defensive.
Yeah, again, couldn't agree with you more, not less. Couldn't agree with you more. I think all of those guys. I think one guy we have to add into the mix for O'Roy undoubtedly has to be Fernando Mendoza.
Oh yeah.
Got to throw him in there. And then D-Roy, I think the only other guy I'd throw in there, or Arvell Reese. I don't know if you touched on him. I think him. I think Mansour Delane. You have to throw in there.
Yeah.
Just on the cusp. But I would agree with your guys. Firstly, and again, we'll get into our for sure. Actually, let's just go with it right now. Let's
Okay.
just go. My prediction. I think I'm gonna roll with. For offensive rookie of the year, I'm gonna roll with Jeremiah Love. I mean, because I think this is a guy who he doesn't need anybody else to produce, kind of like receivers do, and like quarterback does with like the talent around him. I think Jeremiah Love's gonna produce. Period. Like I think this guy's gonna come in, and I could see him really like busting out for like 1,500. Honestly, 1,500, 10 plus touchdowns. Like I really do think that could happen immediately. I think he's more suited to do that than we thought Genty was last year. So that's me personally. I'm going to roll with Jeremiah Love. And then D-Roy, I'm going to go with Caleb Downs because this dude is going to transform Dallas from a bottom 10 defense to a top 15 defense. I can almost guarantee it. Like this, that's just he's all over the place. He can play nickel corner if he wants. He can go back to safety. He can tackle well. He's a little bit questionable in one-on-one coverage down the field, but that doesn't matter because he plays safety, right? So I really do like that pick, and I think that's going to be impactful down the line. But if you want to give your predictions, I am.
Yeah, I think D-Roy is obviously Caleb Downs. I also looked through here. I also think Ruben Bain has a good shot on winning it too. But and I didn't list him for the offensive rookie of the year. But how can we forget about Mekhi Lemon?
Mm.
If I'm gonna say if the Eagles do move on from AJ Brown, which I'm pretty sure there was a report that came out like a couple of weeks ago that they are going to trade him post June 1. So,
Yeah.
But I think like you have Devontae Smith, you have the Slim Reaper, insane. and Makai Lemon, I could see that, but I mean, I'm probably just gonna go with Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, I like the Mackay. I totally forgot about Mackay Lemon. My pause, I guess I would say with that would be, um, is he? I don't know if he's gonna get the. I don't know if he's going to the right system for a receiver developing, just because they're a running system through and through. That's
Yeah.
just what they do. My that is my one worry. Now, I do think he's not. He doesn't need much development. I think he's pretty pro ready in terms of like what he brings to the table. But I do worry about that a little bit, and that's why I wouldn't throw him in there. What's your D-Roy pick?
D-Roy is Caleb Downs.
Yeah, we agree on that. I
Yeah.
don't think there's like much to be said. This dude is a stud. Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that. Now I want to talk about some trades. I want to start. My best trade of the draft would be the Jonathan Grenard trade. I just feel like for the talent that they gave up, which was like a second round pick, and the talent they're getting, which is a potential Pro Bowl, All Pro edge rusher. I really don't see. I think that's a no-brainer. My worst trade of the draft, and it does pay me to say it. And I do think this guy will end up being a stud, but will be the Chiefs trading up to get Mansour Delane. I just don't think they needed to, and I think you give up like a third and a fifth, which I really like that third round pick. I hated going through the third round and not being able to watch us pick up anybody. So that bothered me a little bit. I will say that would be my worst trade because there wasn't really any bad trades. I think. Other than that, I do hate the Dallas trading with Philly and letting Philly select Mackay Lemon. I don't like that trade at all because that's a guy you're going to have to deal with for a long time now. It's going to hurt you in the end. To me, I really don't like that trade at all. Maybe pre-draft, I could roll with Dexter Lawrence just because they gave up a lot. They gave up a lot to the Bengals did to get Dexter Lawrence versus what they could have gotten in this draft. I feel like, but those are the ones I'm rolling with. I'm going to stick with KC. But if you want to go ahead and give your worst trade,
My worst trade, I agree with you on the Makai Lemon one. Like, you got to play Philly 2 times a year, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be out there. Does Philly still have Jahan Dotson?
they do not. I believe he
They
was
don't.
a
Okay.
free agent this year, but they did
And
sign a
he went
lot.
to the Falcons, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
they
But
signed Hollywood and like a couple others.
oh yeah. But I do like I dislike the Makai Lemon one. Well, for my sake, being a Broncos fan and Eagles, I have family that are Eagles fans, so I mean I like that trade. But I mean, and then I'm gonna go with you too with uh the Bengals trading out of the 10th overall pick for Dexter Lawrence. I didn't like that one at all. That was probably the worst one.
Yeah, just too much. Like, not this is Sexy Dexy's a dog. Please don't get it twisted. But like, is he worth the 10th overall pick? I don't think so. What's your best trade of draft?
I will have to go with your Jonathan Grenard one. I really like that. You're
Yeah,
getting a guy that's 28 years old, and what did they give up? Wasn't it? It was a second, right?
maybe.
Yeah, it was some fleece like that, and they also signed him to $100 million deal too.
Mm. Yeah, I was on the phone with a friend when that happened. I raged. I was raging. I was so mad that they gave him up for that, and then obviously re-signed him. Just a stud. I hated that trade so much. But I would have to be my best trade because like talent you give versus talent you get. Like this dude is a stud. Do you think that there's a team that should have traded up? Because in my opinion, I feel like teams did a good job not trading back versus overdrafting, like reaching for talent. My team that I think should have traded up though would be Buffalo. I think Buffalo was in a position to maybe trade up to get some younger talent, and they traded back out of the first round and deep like towards the like eighth I believe, of the second round. I really didn't mess with that at all, but maybe you have a team that should have traded up.
I mean, that pick, the 31st overall pick was it went from New England to Buffalo to Tennessee, where they ended up getting Keldrick Falk. And it's like, you go back. I personally think they needed a wide receiver. You could have got Denzel Boston, like that guy.
Absolutely.
He's really good. And I mean, I even like the Jeremy Bernard pick that the Steelers had. There's wide receivers here and guys that you can go out and get for for the 31st overall pick. I didn't like them trading back.
Yeah, I didn't either. I think that was a team that should trade it up, if anything. If not stay at 29, but I think trade in terms of a team that should trade up, that would be them. If we want to talk about, let's talk about some maybe potential trades coming after the draft. Obviously we touched on AJ Brown, but that is definitely one that is probably going to happen post June 1st. He is on the market. Kenny Moore for the Colts is on the trade market. Um, Anthony Richardson is on the trade market. As look who has popped up in the chat, Big Huddy. Um, but obviously, Anthony Richardson likely to be traded. I try to remember some other guys that are on the trade market. What trade veterans do you see potentially moving on the market and potentially moving, obviously, other than AJ Brown, to likely the Patriots?
Uh, I said this during our draft pod. I was like, I could see Anthony Richardson getting moved, and I do think he will get moved. I don't really know where. I've been kind of like going. I mean, obviously, Ty Simpson went to the Rams, so like that's not really going to happen anymore. But I do think he could potentially go to the Pittsburgh Steelers and kind of have him. I mean, you have the guys there. You have Jeremy Bernard, you have DK Metcalf, you have Pat Fryermuth. They have a decent O line. Now they have Jennings Dunker. You have a good running back. I mean, I think that's where he could go, and I think that would be good for him in the long run.
Yeah, I like that. I think that QB room is just a little bit on the crowded end with Drew Aller, Will Howard, and Mason Rudolph. I think that QB. I think it would be a good trade. I just think that then someone's going to have to go. Obviously, um, you know, forgot to touch on Calvin Austin in terms of like that
Oh yeah.
Steelers weapons. I think that's a really good. Yeah, I like that. I like that for them too. As I think there's a lot of places he go. I can see him going to the Jets. I can see him like I just think wherever he goes, it needs to be somewhere that can develop him. I really would have liked Minnesota, and I still think that's a possibility. I could see him going to San Fran for a couple of years, and like imagine Kyle Shanahan getting to use an athletic quarterback and like run packages with CMAC, like somewhere like that. I think is likely where he's to go. And I feel like that's a wrap on terms of veteran trades. And speaking of Anthony Richardson, let's do a quick quarterback check-in in terms of what we have going around the league. Let's start off with which QB do you think landed in the best spot? I personally, and I'm going to roll with, obviously, I think this is simple out of every quarterback that was drafted and where they were drafted, it's Ty Simpson. This dude is going to inherit a kingdom in terms of, I know Devontae Adams likely won't be there when he starts. You're going to have Puka Nacua. You're going to have a young, revitalized O line. That defense is going to be awesome. I think that's probably the easiest pick, but I think there is some push for Fernando Mendoza there, just because obviously he's got Genty, Brock Bowers, like and a good defense, and developing defense. Trey Tucker at the receiver. Like I think they have some. They obviously signed Jalen Naylor, who I like a lot. So I think there's some push there. But you can go ahead and what quarterback do you think landed in the best spot?
I'm gonna agree with you. I think Ty Simpson with that team and with that organization, that's a place where I would want to go. Obviously, I think one of the people that has a good future is going to be Fernando Mendoza. They just obviously Las Vegas is not in a win now situation, and especially with their division. Like I think for both Mendoza and Simpson, you're in two really tough divisions, so it's kind of hard to say like who's going to do better. But I think it'll be Ty Simpson. And one thing I do want to say, sorry for the coughing. I got over a cold the other day, so
Oh yeah, no worries on that front. Um, speaking of Ty Simpson, I think we do have to also point out the flip side, which is he was also definitely the most QB that was reached on the most,
yes.
just because he was drafted at 15. Um, again, we've talked about this. The pick isn't like I don't hate the pick. I think the shock just came from where he was drafted, not who he was drafted to or that he was drafted. It was just how where he was drafted at, right? So I think that's really just honest on that. In terms of which team still needs a QB, I feel like that's the Jets, right? That is Arizona, depending on how Beck ascends. That is Pittsburgh, depending on where they are at in quarterback. Cleveland still needs a quarterback.
Mhm.
Minnesota still needs a QB
Miami.
one. So you still have Kyler and JJ, and they're going to battle it out. But I do think that like what happens with that, and we'll have to touch on what happens to JJ McCarthy in the future. We will have to touch on that in the future. That might be a video idea. Um, but there's still plenty of teams that need a quarterback. If there's anyone you want to touch on really quickly.
I think it's Miami.
Ooh.
I do like them picking up Malik Willis, but I think if that team can kind of get their get their stuff together, I think he's going to be there all 3 years. Obviously, that's what he signed. 3 years, $67.5 million. Like if you're paying that much money for a guy for to stay there for 3 years, he's probably like they want him to be there long term. I don't hate that pickup, but I think for them, they kind of need to. I mean, it could even be let's build around Malik first, have him develop these guys, and then once he leaves, then we go out and we get a guy, 2-3 years down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think Willis was a great signing, and I personally think he's going to be a franchise quarterback. At least that's what I hope. But I think Miami was definitely a good, just a team to touch on really quickly because we don't know how great Malik Willis could be or will be. So I would agree on touching on them. In terms of veteran quarterbacks on notice, I feel like this is a majority, like Gino, you're on notice, right? Jacoby Brissett, you're definitely on notice. Malik Willis, I feel like he's in that veteran category now. He's probably on notice just because we have a lot of influx of talent. Deshaun Watson, Shadur, you're on notice, right? So like, because next year that quarterback class is ridiculous. Arch Manning, Lenora Sellers, Julian Sand potentially, Dante Moore, Jaden Mayava, like just studs up and I probably missed some, just studs up and down the board next year. And so quarterbacks across the league, if you're Stafford, shoot, right, with the
Yeah,
Rams going out and Simpson, you're on notice. So like I feel like there's a lot of guys, but if you want to touch on any quarterbacks that you feel would have to be put on notice.
I think it's Stafford, just because of you know he said he's coming at the NFL honors. He said he's coming back next year, or like this upcoming season. Uh, I think you like why he's the biggest, not like threat, but why he's the biggest quarterback on notice is because you have a guy that's coming in and you need to develop him. And I mean, I could even say we don't know if he's still going to be there, but it's like uh, Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers. Like you
Hmm.
have a guy in Drew Aller, which I do think could be a potential future starter.
Mhm.
he you have to, you have to develop these guys. And I mean, we saw Aaron do it with Jordan Love. It just took Jordan Love a couple of years, obviously. But yeah, I think it's Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think Matthew Stafford's definitely the biggest name, which is ridiculous that we're talking about this after his MVP year. But the
Yeah.
Rams are kind of like, look, bro, you're old. We don't know how long you're going to be here. He says it's funny we talk about like Stafford and his retirement, but he's never hinted at that. He doesn't. He's never said he wants to go or is close to his time of going. It's kind of been just assumed, and obviously that like horrendous back injury he had going into the season this year. So like I do think that, but the Rams are like, hey man, we like you can play as long as you want, but we're not gonna just let you stay here. So that definitely I think was what they were trying to say with that for Ty Simpson pick. So I would have to agree with you. And before we close for the evening, I wanted to do two things. Where let's talk about our top three draft classes, and then retouch on our rookie of the years before we close.
Okay. My top three: Cleveland Browns, Jets, and the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I think those are three great picks. I'm gonna go with the Jets. I'm gonna go with the Eagles, and then I think I'm gonna roll with for my third and final one. I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I think they had a really good class. So I think I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm gonna go with Baltimore there for my top three classes. I think a lot. I think this is one of the few drafts in a long time where every team really got talent and hit,
Yeah.
and it feels like that, right? So I'm gonna go with those three. And then before we leave, let's talk about one last time our rookie of the year predictions, starting with offensive rookie of the year, then D-Roy.
Yeah. I think offensive rookie of the year is going to be Jeremiah Love, and the defensive rookie of the year is going to be Caleb Downs.
Yep, I agree with you. I think that's pretty simple right there. I think Caleb Downs is a guy that probably could be in DPOY conversations as a rookie, like just because of how I just truly think he's going to transform that defense in Dallas. And with Jeremiah Love, I think he could be an O'Roy, not O'Roy, Offensive Player of the Year. He's gonna. I think he's gonna be O'Roy. Period. But I think he'd be an offensive rookie. I keep saying it. Offensive player of the year conversations. I think this class is stacked though in terms of offense. Like I could see Jordan Tyson playing really well. I could see Cardinal Tate coming off and just performing. I could see Makai Lemon doing the same thing, and then obviously Fernando Mendoza, who's I just this dude. I talk about it all the time. This dude's a winner. This dude has the confidence and swagger and just will to win that players don't have anymore. Like, there's not a lot of guys walking around that are just going to win. It's just in their DNA. And he's definitely one of them. And I think that's why he's going to be a really good quarterback in this league. And I feel like it's appropriate to end on Fernando Mendoza. So please let us know your thoughts on that guy.
Yeah. Him being on the Raiders like sucks because I want him to do good, but it's like him being on the Raiders. I don't want him to do good because he's on the Raiders. But he's that kind of guy where I'm like, if I were to get a jersey, I would get his jersey. Like
So
I,
easy.
yeah, and he reminds me a lot of like his personality wise, a lot of like Jameis Winston. Just that fun guy. No matter where he goes, you're gonna love him. Uh, but I mean, we saw him make plays on the field. That pass to Omar Cooper Jr. against the Penn State Nittany Lions. I was watching that game, and I was like, "Holy crap!" This like Indiana was well into the season, and I'm like, they were already good, but I was like, "Holy crap! This team is really good." And even we saw him take that big hit against Miami in the Natty, where he goes and dives for a touchdown. He gets absolutely rocked as he's diving into the end zone, and he just gets up. Like
Yeah.
he's a tough physical player. I really like Fernando Mendoza.
I second that. I hate the Raiders. I love the fact that we are always winning in Allegiant Stadium. It's my favorite thing to do. We call it Arrowhead West over here.
Same.
Um, so it's fun to that's fun, but I hate the fact that they're getting him, and I think he's going to be a stud. Period. And I think, like you talked about, super fun personality. But more than that, he's a tough, like you said, tough and physical. This dude can take hits, and we talk about that Miami play where he dove for the touchdown. But I don't know, people don't remember early in that game, like first drive of that game, he gets popped in the mouth. Like
Oh yeah, yeah.
I believe it was Ruben Bay, but it might have been even Akeem Ezra. Like whoever it was, just hits him directly in the mouth. Probably should have been a penalty, and his lip is just busted open. He's bleeding a lot, and this dude didn't even flinch. Didn't even
No.
the next time the play comes, he's not worried about anything. Like that we don't have that very often, if at all. We don't even talk about, and I feel like people forget all the time how ridiculous this man's numbers were in the college football playoff. Like he had, for going into the national championship, he had more touchdowns than incompletions, and
Yeah.
he played Bama and Ohio State. Like he wasn't just this wasn't just like random teams he was putting BTA on. Like these were great teams that he destroyed. Excuse me, they didn't play Ohio State in the playoffs. They played them in the Big Ten championship, but they played Bama, killed Bama, and then took as we get a Papa Carter appearance at the end. The 49ers had a lot of reaches. Hope that some of them pan out. I think I'd have to agree with you. I think they did reach on a couple guys, especially that DB at the start of the second round. I didn't like
Also with
that.
Dejan Scriblin, I ain't never heard of that guy.
Yeah,
So they got him, and I'm like, what are they doing?
yeah, that was pretty random. But it is time to close, and I feel like we had to end on Fernando Mendoza because of what a stud he is. But this was our 2026 draft recap. So glad to have everybody along with us. Fun stream, fun talking points. As I don't know about you, Brody, but if you're available tomorrow evening, the Celtics do play ball in Game 7.
Go Sixers.
Potentially something we could get talking about. But that is all for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lailend Duncan, and on my right is
Brody Carter.
Mr. Friday Night Lights. And we
Yes.
will sign off, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming, and we will be back live soon. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.